Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, look, I get your point, Barry. I do. I'm just saying Godzilla versus King Kong. I mean, that's just two small potatoes for me. I want to see Godzilla fight against the Megazord up on the big screen. That right there is worth the price of admission. Well, obviously, the Supermax Train Megazord from Lightspeed Rescue, Barry. I mean, what other Megazord could possibly go up against Godzilla? I mean, yeah, the Quantum Rex is pretty cool. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, yeah, you could throw King Kong in the background, I guess. He could be like a supporting character or whatever, but that's what I want to say. You know what? Let's pick this up later. We're in the middle of something. Okay. Hey everybody, how you doing? Tekking and Barry here. We've been having a little bit of a friendly debate as of late. Which Megazord do you think would fight against Godzilla in pitch combat? Maybe King Kong too. I don't know. Anyway, speaking of Godzilla and King Kong, today we're talking about Big Mom. In the last chapter, chapter 1011, spoilers, we had an interesting moment with her where she went up against a giant Spinosaur and punched it in the chest with Conqueror's Hockey. That is a weird sentence to say out loud, but man, was it awesome. Oh yeah. Of course, she's very friendly with Tama. She entered her motherly mode there, which makes sense considering she's Big Mom. And, like, she's rather cruel to a lot of people, including her own children that we saw at Totland. But somebody actually brought up a really good point. Like, if she was always that cruel to all of her kids throughout their lives, Totland probably would not have survived. She probably wouldn't have that many kids at this point, you know what I mean? Like, because if she was that cruel all the time. So at least in their formative years, she was somewhat of a mother some of the times, because remember what happened with Pudding. She wasn't very nice to Pudding growing up. But, you know, maybe sometimes she was, sometimes she wasn't. And Big Mom is very erratic, and that's kind of her whole character. But, you know, she's friends with Tama, and Tama explains that the people that gave her the Oshiruko, the red beam paste over at Okabore Town, got wiped out by Kaido's dinosaur forces. This really pisses off Big Mom, and then boom, punches page one right down on the ground with Conquerors, and Ulti arrives on the scene. Nami and Usopp are there, so we'll see where this goes. So, last year, I made a video all about Big Mom's body. And boy, did we talk about Big Mom's body. But for now, we're going to be talking about Big Mom's brain. What's going on in her noggin, okay? Because, as I said, very, very erratic character. In fact, when you look at the other Yonko, Big Mom kind of introduces a kind of concept of unpredictability, and just, you know, like, you just don't know what she's going to do, right? And I think that's what Oda's going for here, because you got Shanks, right? Shanks is this really cool, suave, you know, pirate raised by Roger, right? And we don't exactly know what Shanks's end goal is, other than just, you know, partying a lot and drinking a lot of booze, but he's a very rational human being, right? In fact, just the idea that Shanks was able to have an audience with the Gorosei. This is one of the Yonko meeting with the Gorosei. You know the Gorosei would not have accepted that offer from Kaido or Blackbeard or Big Mom. Can you imagine if Big Mom got on the Den Den Mushi and was like, Gorosei, I want... Why am I talking in Orochi's voice? Oh, whatever, let's just roll with it. Mama, I am Mama Orochi. I am coming to Marie-Joie to have a meeting with you post-haste. And so, I don't think the Gorosei would have accepted that. They would have probably put all of Marie-Joie and the Red Port on high alert at that point. But they agreed to listen to Shanks because he was like a rational human being. It's like, all right, we'll talk to you. You're not going to start anything, okay? And then Kaido, of course, not as unpredictable as Big Mom, but still very, very dangerous. You couldn't trust that guy. And when it comes down to Blackbeard, not irrational, but still very unpredictable for other reasons. And Blackbeard tends to, like, jump into things without thinking first, like what happened with Magellan at the prison, where he just got covered in poison, just walked right into Magellan's Hydra. So that wasn't very smart, but yeah, he doesn't seem to think ahead a lot of times. But then Big Mom is just, like, chaos embodied, right? In the form of a 68-year-old woman wearing a muumuu, okay? That is Big Mom, essentially. So the idea that Big Mom, upon hearing that someone destroyed the town that gave her food, launched into a blood rage against Page One and Kaido's crew, that's not something ridiculous to me. And the fact that we're, like, in this moment right now, like, okay, this could really go anywhere. This could go into a situation where Big Mom starts fighting against the other members of the Tobiropo, like Ulti is there as well. This could lead into a moment where Kid shows up, and Kid distracts Big Mom, and then they just get into their fight, and Big Mom just forgets about it. That's the thing. You can never know what Big Mom's going to do just from the one moment there. I think a lot of people were kind of like jumping the gun a little bit, and they're thinking like, oh, okay, so Big Mom's just gonna be an ally now. She's just gonna listen to whatever Tama says. Oh, no, you just don't know what's going to happen, right? Right now, she's like, you know, there's a code amongst pirates. It's a cruel pirate world we all live in. but there's one thing, there's one line you do not cross, and it's eating someone else's Oshiruko. Bam! You know, that's how it goes. But in the very next chapter, I don't know, any number of things could happen, and Big Mom could be completely distracted from beating on the freaking Spinosaur, and then she'd be like, oh, I'm gonna go over here and do this instead, and completely forget about Tama even being there, okay? Big Mom has had amnesia plenty of times already in this story where she's, like, forgotten herself. We've had moments where she goes into her hunger pangs, where she's completely irrational, and she's just, you know, laser focused on just one type of food that she desires, and then she goes into her regular rage moments and everything, and then her motherly mode. So it runs the scale of this. It's all over the place, okay? So, I mean, like, and also, I understand where a lot of people are coming from, like, the idea of, like, one of the big antagonists of the entire story all of a sudden helping out the main cast. I mean, that's a pretty big, you know, change over there. That would be like if in Naruto, when Naruto was, like, fighting Pain, all of a sudden Pain decides to help Naruto. Okay, that's not a great example because that actually did happen. Okay, it would be like if at the end of Naruto, when they were fighting Kaguya and everybody, you know, all of a sudden freaking Orochimaru showed up and helped them. Okay, crap, that actually happened too. Okay, Bleach. Let's just go with Bleach. Okay, when in doubt, just go back to Bleach. Okay, so this would be like if in the 1,000-Year Blood War arc, when they were fighting against Yuha, you know, Quincy God or whatever, Aizen comes out of nowhere and helps Ichigo fight. Okay. That actually happened too. Alright, so this actually happens more often than not a lot of times in manga now that I think about it. Alright, so this isn't that unusual. The big bad suddenly helping out the main cast in some way. But with Big Mom, you just can't tell. I mean, Big Mom could, you know, be an ally with them for a few chapters or whatever. Or another idea is she might think the debt is kind of squared away right now, where she's like, okay, they took away the town that fed me that Oshiruko. I'm gonna teach them a lesson. Bam! Punches page 1 into the ground. Okay, I've taught them a lesson, and now she goes on to, like, find Kid or whatever, how that's going to go. Alright? It's kind of a really, it's kind of a touchy situation. We just don't know where it's going to go from here. Something else a lot of people have been saying about Big Mom is, you know, Big Mom really, a lot of times in this story, does kind of have the same mentality that she had when she was a child, even though she's like 68 years old. So when she was a child, and we found this out in the backstory with Mother Caramel and everything, her big life goal, you know, given to her by Mother Caramel, although she kind of misinterpreted what Mother Caramel really wanted, Mother Caramel wanted a world where, like, all the people of the world can kind of live together in peace and harmony. So first off, that was an all-out lie, because we know Mother Caramel wasn't the kind motherly nun that we thought she was initially. She was actually codename Mountain Witch, and she was a slave trader amongst other things. But she, you know, fed this message to Lin at like age 5 of, like, you know, oh, a world where everybody comes together and lives in happiness and harmony and all that kind of peace and love and understanding. And Big Mom, the way she interpreted that at a young age, although even though she grew up since then, hasn't really altered her philosophy on this, is the way she looked at it was, oh, well, you know, I'm a lot bigger than a lot of other people. Like, I'm bigger than other normal humans. So the world that I would want is where we could all sit around a table at eye level. And so, therefore, of course, she arrived at the conclusion of, like, oh, I need to figure out some way to make all the races of the world as big as I am, to gigantify them, so then we can all sit at a tea party together at eye level and we're all equal, okay? And so this was the viewpoint she had at that young age, and then we flash forward 60 years, and she's the queen of Totland, and that is still her ultimate goal. It's still the goal, where she's still clinging on to Mother Caramel's dream, her dream, and then, of course, hiring Caesar Clown to work on the gigantification experiments at Punk Hazard, you know, that he experimented on the kids and everything, and then, of course, going around and hoping that all the different races of the world can live together in Totland in peace, even though she is this, well, not everybody in Totland has, like, a bad time. It's not like it's so cruel that, like, the people living there can't go about their lives. They do. It's just they have to supply Big Mom's little soul, you know, homies with, like, those fragments of their own soul, of their lifespan. I think, like, twice a year, every 6 months, they gotta pay a tax to stay in Totland. But from the way we understand, like, at Cacao Island and everything, like, when the Straw Hats first arrived there, actually, like, in this scene right there, like, Pedro saw other minks living there, and they seemed like they were doing good. You know, they weren't like horribly oppressed. It's just that there's a constant danger with Big Mom always, going into a hunger pang and just wrecking the entire archipelago of islands. That could happen pretty much at any time when it comes to her. Also, of course, Big Mom's view on this is very askew to the point it's just like, okay, I need to make the entire world like me. I need to make, I'm really tall, I'm really huge, not quite as big as a giant, but I need to make other people like that in order for me to achieve my dream. That's what Mother Caramel was really talking about. That's how we'll achieve world peace, truly, right? So it's a little bit skewed there. Also, the whole idea that the giants absolutely hate her guts right now, considering what happened, well, not only with what happened when she was a kid at Elbaf, slaying one of their noble heroes of history, but also later on with the whole debacle that happened with Loki and Lola, and then, Lola left, and then that marriage proposal fell apart, and then the giants, the hatred for Lin was kind of renewed at that point. So there's really no chance in hell at this point, I would say, that the giants would reconcile with Big Mom or Totland. And so Big Mom has to kind of deal with that situation of, like, there will never be giants around her table, around her tea party table, and that is just something that, like, causes immense rage from her. Like, that she'll never be able to truly achieve Mother Caramel's dream, which is why she hired Caesar to do the gigantification experiments and all that stuff. So, in a lot of ways, Big Mom, yes, is extremely childish, and, like, very much like a child. She'll, like, go from one thing to another. Like, example of that was, like, Brooke, when she captured Brooke, and the second she woke up and was like, oh, he's not moving, whatever, I don't care about him anymore. Now, obviously, they switched out Brooke with, like, a fake one, but still, it just shows that Big Mom's personality is so random. She'll move from one thing to another. So if in the next chapter all of a sudden she gets distracted by like a little bug or something flying on the wall and she runs off and chases after it in that direction, I wouldn't be surprised all that much, honestly. Another great example of this is the alliance that she made with Kaido. When that happened, I'm like, okay, there's no way this alliance is going to stick. It would be a very terrifying thing if it did stick. The Marines even said as much, like, Brand New was like, if Big Mom and Kaido work together, their collective bounty is getting close to like 10 billion, and they would be simply put the strongest force on the seas if they were working together. That's why how dangerous the Yonko are if they were to actually work as a unit. Can you imagine if all the Yonko, this would never happen, but if all the Yonko actually work together, it would be insane. Like, they would conquer Marijois by the end of the day. It would be crazy. But I didn't think it was going to last, of course, because, Big Mom shows up at Wano after the Straw Hats. Kaido's, he doesn't want her there. He's like, get out of my island, I'm gonna fight you. And so Big Mom and Kaido clash at Onigashima, but then they kind of reconcile, and they kind of, hey, remember that time, Captain Rocks? I'm like, yeah, I remember that. And so they kind of reconcile, and they join together, and they become an alliance. Okay, cool, great. But it's like any number of things could happen. Like, there could be a moment, I don't know, where Big Mom's like, Kaido, I want some cake, and, Kaido's like, you already ate all the damn cake, we don't have any more cake, and then Big Mom would be like, alliance is off then. Like, that could be something that could totally happen with her. You just don't know, okay? So they were working together for quite some time up at the battle when they were up against the supernovas like Zoro and Law, Kid, Killer, and Luffy. And now she got separated. It really does seem it's going to be Kid against Big Mom. And if Kid is smart, granted, he's not the sharpest tack in the drawer, but if Kid is really smart, he would use that unpredictability and that irrationality that she kind of displays a lot of times to his own advantage, right? I'm not really sure what he would come up with, but also something to keep in mind is Big Mom might have Conqueror's Haki, so does Kid. And that was something I think that was only mentioned offhandedly. I don't think we've ever actually shown Kid using Conqueror's Haki. Would he be able to use Conqueror's Haki the same way that Luffy and Zoro displayed? Yeah, I would. I mean, the thing is, you have to understand is, yeah, we don't spend that much time with Eustass Kid in this story. Honestly enough, we've spent way more time with Law, way more time with Beige at Tauntland than we had with Kid. And it sucks because Kid is supposed to be, like, right up there with Luffy. Like, the perspective I always got that Oda was doing with these two is that, like, whenever Luffy discovers, like, a new gear, that's when Kid also discovers something new with his magnet fruit. So they're right around comparable in terms of strength, and they both have Conqueror's Haki, and their bounties right now, yeah, Luffy's bounty skyrocketed, but Kid's bounty was, higher than Luffy's at Sabaody, and I'm sure after this arc, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, after this arc, if what happens, if, like, Big Mom and Kaido are both defeated, Law's, Luffy's, Zoro's, Killer, and Kid's bounties would all skyrocket to, well, Luffy's is already over 1 billion, but I wouldn't be surprised if, like, Kid in particular and Law's went over 1 billion as well, right, considering everything going on here. So if Kid, shows up to help fight against Big Mom, and then she gets distracted and then goes to fight Kid, and she just forgets about Tama or whatever, and then the fight is on there, and then Kid uses his punk rotten with Conqueror's Haki, I'd be okay with that. I would think that would work fine. It's just, this is not Eustass Kid's manga. He's not the main character of One Piece. Luffy is, okay? If we did have a more of a seinen heavy metal version of One Piece featuring Eustass Kid as the main character, I'm sure a lot of the fights and a lot of the moments in his journey were very similar and parallel to Luffy. Like when Luffy discovered Gear 2nd and 3rd, he figured out something similar. When, he learned Haki, Kid learned something about Haki as well, right? Obviously, he wasn't trained by Rayleigh, but still, there's something there, okay? Zeus is also there, okay? So Zeus is also probably going to go to help Big Mom. I'm assuming she still has Hera and Prometheus as well, and Napoleon. I guess she has all of her homies. It's just we only really focused on Hera last time. I don't think any of the other homies, because, yeah, Prometheus was cut up by Zoro, and then Napoleon was chased off by Killer, but they all regrouped, and then Zeus is there, too. Oh, that might lead into something, too, where Kid is fighting against Big Mom, and she's using Hera, and then all of a sudden Zeus shows up. This is like, these are characters in One Piece, but I'm just thinking about, like, Greek mythology right now. Okay, so yeah, so Hera's fighting against somebody, and then Zeus shows up, and Hera's like, oh my god, can you just get out of here? After the whole thing with Alcmene and Heracles, why are you, just get out of here, Zeus, right? But anyway, it would be funny if they're fighting, and all of a sudden Zeus shows up like, Mama, I'm back! And then Hera and Zeus start getting into an argument right in front of Big Mom about, like, Hera's like, I am your replacement, I'm so much better than you, and Zeus is like, no, Mama, you can't! And then all of a sudden the homies just start arguing with Big Mom, and that, like, distracts her, or she gets swept up into the argument as well, and then Kid takes that opportunity to make a giant metal hammer and just BAM! Like attack it or something, like, yeah. I'm a little bit nervous here. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm a little bit nervous about Eustass Kid going up against Big Mom by himself, right? Luffy is fighting against Kaido right now, but of course, we've had the whole story to kind of build up to Luffy and what he's all about. I'm a little bit more scared, I guess, in just the storytelling perspective, like how Oda's going to handle this. The best way, I think, would be to actually show a few flashbacks with Kid along the way. And also, when this fight starts, there is no excuse, Oda, for you not to reveal the name of Kid's Devil Fruit at this point. Like, when Kid finally reaches Big Mom and the fight is on properly, come on, just like Eustass Captain Kid, this is his bounty, this is his Devil Fruit, let's freaking go, right? But during the fight, you can maybe have little flashbacks to, like, that one time I fought against Big Mom's ships, or that other time I went up against Red Hair Shanks. Like, we have little flashbacks to Kids and Killer's history there, and that would be a good way to bring us up to speed on that. Because he's not like Law. I want him to get that same treatment where we found out a whole backstory with Law and everything at Dressrosa, but the thing is, at Dressrosa, that was, like, Law's, like, arc, because that involved Doflamingo, and their relationships were very closely tied together, Law's and Doflamingo's and their history and everything. So that would make sense to not only get Doflamingo's past, but also Law's past during that arc. At this point in Wano, it's not really all about Kid, but if you want to throw in Kid's backstory right here, just really quick, like a chapter on, like, how Kid grew up or how he wanted to become a pirate, it might not fit with the theme of Wano too much, but it's like, if you got to put it in there, because I want to learn more about Eustass. I want to learn more about his piratey days and everything like that, and how that all went down. I want to see how he fought against Shakes and all that stuff. So this is vastly becoming, the second part of this video is more of a video on Eustass Kid fighting against Big Mom. But yeah, suffice to say, there's a bunch of different ways I think that Big Mom can give Kid an opening in order for, him to win. Yes, Luffy and Sanji did fight against Big Mom very briefly back at Totland at the Tea Party, but there's a few things that are different there you got to keep in mind. Number one, they were not trying to defeat her, they were trying to escape. Alright, it's just like, okay, we did this thing at the party, we, smashed the portrait of Mother Caramel, we did all that, we got Sanji back, which was the big thing, and then we need to escape. And so the rest of that arc was just getting away. Luffy was not even, Luffy got a shot out on Big Mom. He wanted to see how he measured up to Big Mom, but it was very clear Luffy was was not like, okay, you guys get going, I'll fight against Big Mom, I can take her. That was not the plan, alright? This is kind of do or die. This is like, okay, Totland was just to escape. We have to defeat them now, though. We're not going to be able to get off Onigashima alive unless Kaido and Big Mom are defeated or killed. We have to do that now, okay? So that's a different scenario. And also the fact at the time, remember, Big Mom was surrounded by allies. Literally all of her kids were gathered together at that tea party, all to fight against, you know, the enemies, and Beige, and Luffy, and Pedro, and Carrot, and everybody. And so it's a battle they really were kind of outnumbered. They were behind enemy lines, and they had all of these, you know, the Big Mom family in its entirety, plus Big Mom herself, surrounding them. They had to escape. And so here it's just Big Mom plus, you know, Napoleon, Prometheus, Zeus eventually, and Hera, and then it's Kid. And so, yeah, you might have some other members of the Beast Pirates that might join in and try to attack, but one big burst of Conqueror's Haki would probably be enough there. You know, like some Beast Pirates are coming after Kid, and Kid just like, you know, get away, you piss ants! And then they all drop, and so you don't have to worry about that. I do want to see some other members of Kid's crew, like Heat and Wire, show up and maybe help him out too, like do a combo attack. Killer's dealing with Hawkins, of course. But yeah, if it just comes down to Big Mom versus Kid, it is going to be an insane fight. It is going to be all over the place. Just expect the unexpected with Big Mom. That is the best way that I can say to approach her character, to approach her mind, because whenever she might come up with a plan, the plan might not stick, or she might be deviated into something altogether, right? So if, like, I don't know, something unpredictable. So next chapter, after she punches page 1, I don't know, maybe she turns around and uses Prometheus to burn the entire castle down. Like, why would she do that? You might question that, but it's like, if she did do that, would you be surprised? Be like, alright, now she takes Prometheus and just sets the whole freaking floor on fire. But Tama was there, yeah? But weren't they friends? Yeah. 5 seconds ago they were, but you never know. So, at any rate, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, even though it was mostly about Big Mom, but then the latter half was pretty much just about Kid fighting against Big Mom. But at any rate, Golden Week in Japan next week, so no chapter. So in 2 weeks, I guess we'll pick up with it and see where that goes from there, okay? Yeah, the Ninja Storm Megazord was cool, too. I liked all those different balls and things, but I just don't think that would work. Have a good night, guys. We gotta have a debate about this. All right, so what's up next?